the same vein, the United Nations Development Programme and YIAGA Africa have initiated a project aimed at mobilizing at least 60% of eligible young voters to register, collect their permanent voters card and vote in the 2023 elections. The project is aimed at using traditional and non-traditional tools of political mobilization. Both bodies made the resolution on Friday in Abuja at an event to award 1 million naira grant to 13 young Nigerians to mobilize at least 5,000 young voters each to register in the ongoing continuous voter registration exercise, collect their PVCs and vote in the forthcoming 2023 elections. Also in Lagos on Saturday, organizers of the voter mobilization deployed pop culture to ensure the youth registered for their permanent voters' cards. Musicians such as Kiss Daniel, Tubaba and Omawumi played at a musical concert tagged Youth Vote Count to create voting awareness. Joining us to speak on the mobilization of youths for voter registration towards the 2023 general election and the focus on youth in particular is Samson Itodo, Executive Director of YIAGA Africa. Good to have you on Newsday. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you.
Always a delight.
Now, considering the crop of candidates that have emerged from the party primaries, some Nigerians feel that we have same of the same. Why is it important for youths to still get involved in 2023?
I think it's important for citizens and young people in particular to get interested and participate in the process, because that's the only leadership recruitment process that a country has as a democracy. We've just celebrated another Democracy Day, and elections symbolize, democratic practice. And so for a lot of young people and citizens who are concerned about the state of, the state of public leadership, one of which has left us as a country with poor economic hardship, with the level of insecurity, with a fractured society around issues around ethnicity and religion, and a country where the dignity of the human person is not respected. You have weak institutions, and we can't claim to be a country that is on the path of progress when we remain the poverty capital of the world, and the level of inequality is quite high. And so for a lot of young people who are indicating interest to participate, they are doing so to reclaim the state from a political leadership that has held us hostage over the last couple of years. And so you can see the interest on the part of young people to register, to collect their PVCs, and vote wisely. Our determination as YIAGA Africa and all the partners who are involved in this is to harness the anger, to harness the energy and the resilience of young people, to the ballot or to the polling stations on March 11th and February 25th of 2023 and get them to vote wisely. It's not enough, to record high turnout. The greatest threat that we have to grapple with is to have a high turnout of uninformed voters who will be voting based on ethnicity and religion. That will be dangerous for our democracy. And so it's how do we ensure that people vote based on issues, based on competence of the candidates that have been nominated by political parties, but more importantly about their character. And as you can see for some of the candidates that have been nominated, a lot of them do have questionable character. And that, we believe, will inform how voters will vote in 2023. They will vote for people who they know have track record, of excellent, transparent leadership, and not those who have moral baggage, who don't have, the requisite moral capital to provide the kind of leadership that Nigeria truly deserves at this moment of our political history.
Well, Samson, we sincerely hope that is the case as we continue to watch the political field play out. But I want to talk to you about this group of youth, the Gen Zers, the millennials. We saw them come out en masse for the NSARS protest. This was a couple years back in order to talk about the fact that the police killings had gotten out of hand. we saw them turn out all across the country. And the discussion at the time was that of pride for some, saying that for the first time, it seems like Nigeria's youth got the message and are congregating for something more than Big Brother Africa, just for an example. But I'm wondering how that will actually translate to votes, if it will translate to votes at all. Do you think that it would, that the youth are more engaged politically speaking and have the awareness and presence of mind to decipher between which candidates might be better for the country, and if they'll turn up to the polls at all?
Well, terrific question. And if you look across Nigeria, the youth energy is just electrifying. You go on social media, you go to registration points, you just see a lot of young people. And just a bit of a correction, and the earlier clip that you showed about mobilization, that was at the Tafawa Balewa Square the whole of last week, where YIAGA Africa, the European Union, and INEC and DAI are partnering on the youth vote count. And that mobilization saw INEC register voters at the Tafawa Balewa Square from Monday the 6th down to Friday the 10th. And over 11,000 young people were registered at the Tafawa Balewa Square because INEC deployed, about 30 machines to TBS Square to register voters. 90% of people who showed up were young people. So there's an excitement, in the land. And young people have now recognized the power of their vote and they're going to make their vote count. It's appalling, the level of youth turnout for elections. And I completely agree with you that if young people don't make their numbers count, then they will remain nothing but statistics. Because how are you a demographic majority, yet unable to influence electoral outcomes at elections? In 2019, the level of turnout, youth turnout for elections, was less than 30%. In the presidential elections, it was 28%, and the governorship election was 29%. In Lagos, where we had the concert and the registration, the turnout for young turnout was about...
Please allow me to interrupt you. We are completely out of time, but I want you to answer this question for me very briefly. In a country where poverty has been weaponized and the electoral process monetized, how do we convince Nigerian voters, especially the youths, who also want a share of the national cake, not to sell their votes? Very briefly, in 2 seconds, please.
The only way out of poverty is not selling your vote. Because when you vote for credible leaders, they will in turn formulate policies that will fix our leadership crisis and provide the jobs and the opportunity for economic prosperity. The more you sell your vote, the more you lose your voice and you lose the opportunity of voting incompetent leaders to provide the leadership that we desire. So vote buying or vote selling isn't the way out of poverty. The way out of poverty and economic prosperity is voting leaders who get it, voting leaders who care about our welfare. And the only way to do so is to come out and vote for those kinds of leaders.
Very well said. Thank you so much for joining us on the program, Samson Itodo of YIAGA Africa.